All right, let's get right into it. If you're buying a home, you know that incredible feeling when your offer finally gets accepted. But what comes next? Well, that can feel like a whole different ballgame, and honestly, a much more stressful one. So today, we're going to break down how you can navigate that whole post-offer negotiation phase like an absolute pro.
And isn't that just the truth? You get this huge wave of relief, and then, almost immediately, it's followed by this wave of anxiety. All of a sudden, you're juggling inspections, the mortgage, a seller who might not want to budge an inch. It feels like a lot, I know. But stick with me, because there is a much, much smarter way to get through it.
So let's get into the fundamentals of how to even approach this. The very first and probably most important thing is to completely shift how you're thinking about this whole process. This is not about picking a fight. It's not about trying to win an argument. And this right here, this is the key. This entire phase is all about one thing: protection. You are working to build a final deal that, makes sense for your bank account and lets you sleep at night. It's a strategic process, not some big confrontation.
It's so easy for buyers to get totally laser-focused on one single thing, the sale price. But honestly, that's like trying to build an entire house with only a hammer. You've got a whole toolkit at your disposal. Okay, so here they are, your three main tools. You've got price, of course, but you also have repairs and closing costs. I want you to think of each of these as a lever you can pull, because adjusting any one of them can seriously save you thousands of dollars down the road.
And this is where you can get really creative because there are different paths to the exact same goal. You might have a seller who just flat out refuses to lower the price, but they might be perfectly happy to cover a few $1,000s of your closing costs. For your wallet, the end result is pretty much identical. And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. Right here in Southeastern Mass, this kind of thing happens all the time. For a seller, offering a credit can just feel like a cleaner, simpler transaction than actually changing the official sale price. But for you, the buyer, it still means less cash you have to bring to the closing table.
All right, now let's talk about the single most powerful tool you have after your offer gets accepted, and that is the home inspection. This isn't about finding little flaws to try and kill the deal. No, it's about gathering cold, hard facts to protect your investment. So when an inspector's report comes back and it flags things like, say, old wiring, a leaky roof, or a furnace that's on its last legs, you are not being picky by bringing this up. You have every right to ask for repairs or maybe a credit to cover those future costs. In fact, sellers absolutely expect this conversation to happen. It's part of the dance. Okay, so we've covered the theory, which is great, but what does this actually look like when you're in the thick of it and the pressure is on? Let's walk through a real-world example from right here in Brockton.
I mean, this is the key question, right, isn't it? It's one thing to talk about pillars and leverage and toolkits, but it's a completely different thing to see how it all plays out for an actual buyer.
So the story starts out like a lot of them do. A buyer finds a home that just seems great. It checks all their boxes, it looks good, and they are super excited to move forward. And then, bam, the inspection report lands. And it uncovers some faulty electrical work and a whole section of guttering that was basically about to fail. Now, these weren't total deal breakers, but they were definitely going to be expensive and a huge headache to fix later on. So, the buyer's first move was what you'd expect. They asked for a price reduction to cover the cost of those future repairs. And the seller's response? A hard no. And right there, if the buyer had only been focused on that one pillar, the price, the deal might have just stalled out and died.
But they were smart. They didn't panic. They pivoted. They pulled out their other tools. They came back with a new proposal. What if the seller handles the electrical repairs before the closing and provides a credit to cover the gutter replacement? And you know what? The seller agreed. And the result of that one strategic pivot, it saved the buyer over $4,000 in immediate and near-future expenses. The deal stayed on track, and they got to move into their new home without this giant financial storm cloud hanging over them. Now, that is the power of creative negotiation. So when you boil it all down, the key takeaway is this: negotiation is not something you need to be afraid of. By understanding all your options and thinking beyond just the price tag, you get to shift from being an anxious participant to being an empowered driver of your own deal. I really want you to let this sink in. Advocating for your own financial well-being and, the actual condition of your future home is not being difficult. It is literally the smartest thing you can possibly do in this entire home buying process. So I'm going to leave you with this question to chew on.
Now that you're armed with this knowledge about repairs and closing costs, what's one opportunity you can see to shape a better deal for yourself? Something that goes beyond just haggling over the price. Think about it, because that right there, that's where your real power lies.